Hey good people, and welcome back to the channel. It's a wonderful Sunday morning, and I'll be sharing with you my thoughts and feelings on episode 5 of season 3's Family or Fiancé. And over the course of this review, I'll be sharing some background information on this couple, followed by my opinion on the issues that the couple faced, and finally I'll provide an overall rating for the episode. So without any further delay, let's jump right in. Episode 5 shines a spotlight on Shai and Troy. Shai is a 24-year-old aspiring artist, and Troy is a 29-year-old aspiring actor. Shai and Troy met on social media, where Troy slid in her DMs, and they immediately had a Netflix and chill session on the first date. Shai and Troy then decided to move in together, only after knowing each other for 4 months, and they got engaged 2 months later. Now throughout this episode, there was one question that was never really clearly answered, which is, why the rush? And I bring this question up because over the course of this episode, Shai and Troy both had a ton of red flags that were shown. With Troy, he really didn't talk to Shai's side of the family prior to asking for her hand in marriage. Troy also told Shai about a baby that he had prior to them getting together, and now he has full custody of that baby. And if that wasn't enough, Troy is a bona fide mama's boy, which is very concerning to Shai. Shai, on the other hand, isn't really making the effort to build her relationship with Troy's mother, and she also had a hard time setting boundaries when it comes to her relationship with her twin sister. So these are the issues at hand. And when the family members for both sides arrived to talk about their concerns, the issues that were discussed centered around Shai and Troy getting married too soon, the couple improving on their communication, and the family members wanting to get to know the other side a little better. Now towards the halfway point of the episode, Shai and Troy share their 5-year plans with their fiancé side of the family. And due to the choppy editing for this episode, we really didn't get to see either person's complete 5-year plan. But it's very apparent that Shai's 5-year plan is very ambitious, with no real plan to achieve those goals, while Troy's 5-year plan seems to be more realistic to accomplish. Furthermore, Shai's plan to have 5 kids, and a wedding, and a career in music with no realistic pathway towards making a steady income was very worrisome for Troy's side of the family. But the biggest bombshell that was shared was when Troy's mother told Shai that Troy had applied to become a police officer, and he even passed the physical fitness test. This news angered Shai because Troy never told her anything about it. So here's a quick recap of the issues that Shai and Troy face. Shai and Troy are both dreamers. They both have significant issues with communication. They also have issues with taking accountability, trusting one another, and Shai wants to be the first person that Troy tells anything to. Now after hearing all this foolishness, here's where I stand. In my opinion, Shai and Troy should have never gotten engaged, let alone be in a relationship. Aside from potential sexual chemistry, it seems like these two really have nothing else in common. They are very far from being on the same page on most issues, and I think it was a bad move on Troy's part to ask Shai to get married without meeting with her family first and letting them know about his plans to take care of her. I think that throughout this episode, Shai has proven time and time again, and her priorities are not really set in having kids and being a housewife right now. But that's definitely within her right to feel that way. But my biggest disappointment during this episode was watching how Tracy advised Shai and Troy. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but Tracy has been somewhat of a neutral party when talking to these couples for the past season. But in this episode, it seemed like Tracy was a little biased against Troy, and she put all the bulk of the responsibility for the issues in their relationship on Troy, which I think wasn't really fair. Tracy also tasked Troy with meeting with his mother to draw some line in the sand when it came to the boundaries that she and Troy have, which I think opened a can of worms. And since I brought up Troy's mother, I think I might as well give my opinion on that. When Troy met his mother to talk about putting Shai first in his life, I definitely understood Troy's mother's point of view on the issue. And I'll even go as far as to say that I completely agreed with her, and here's why. From his mother's perspective, Troy has only known Shai for less than a year. Sure, some people can meet, fall in love, and get married in less than a year and be successful with it. But in my opinion, those type of people who typically find long-lasting and organic success moving that fast typically have their life together to some degree, and they know what they want out of life. Shai and Troy are nowhere near being that ready. And from a mother's perspective, she might have a bond with Troy that Shai would never understand. And because of that, Troy comes to her to share things because he doesn't feel comfortable enough to share them with Shai. and Troy may not feel comfortable enough talking to Shai yet because he's not ready to take that next step with her. But he also doesn't know how to tell her that without hurting her feelings. I also understood why Troy's mother was emotional towards the end of the scene. In her mind, Troy is trying to replace her with somebody who hasn't really proven that they have his best interest at heart. After all, since the beginning of time, a mother's job has been to protect her babies. And normally, I would be completely against overbearing mothers and mama's boys. But in this situation, I think Troy's mother is trying to save Troy from himself. Furthermore, Shai has voiced several times that she wants to be the number one woman in Troy's life. My only question in that is, has Shai ever attempted to develop a rapport with Troy's mother? I ask this because in our society, the expectation for men is to get in good with the woman's father or her mother if the father isn't around. And this is to essentially prove to the girlfriend's parents that he can take care of her and that he'll be a good addition to the family. But I have to wonder, has Shai ever tried to take this approach with the mother? And if so, how did it work out? And to answer that, I would venture to say no, because if she had, then Troy's mother would likely be honored for Shai to marry Troy. But towards the end of the episode, Shai and Troy finally realized that they needed to push their wedding date back and gave each other some time to get to know each other better. And this was a decision that I completely agree with. As stated before, there were far too many red flags with this couple within the first 10 minutes of the episode. And I'm definitely glad that the family members weren't too afraid to speak their minds on why they objected to the marriage. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, I will give this episode a 6. This by far was the best episode of the season because we as the viewing audience got to see a couple that already had a ton of issues coming into the process, realize that marriage is not a joke, and they needed to do more work before making that kind of commitment to one another. I also agree with the concerns that both sides of the family had because they were very valid. And I would have rated the episode higher, but I really wasn't a fan of the episode's editing or how biased Tracy seemed to be at times. Now, there was a point in the episode where Tracy arranged for Shai and her sister to meet with a music producer to see if they had what it took to be in the industry. Now, I don't know what the producer was hearing, but from what I heard, they need to stick to doing concerts on the Chitlin circuit. Nevertheless, Tracy's music producer told Shai that she had what it took and Tracy accepted it. But Tracy was far from receptive in hearing Troy's concern with Shai and her sister's close relationship. But this marks the end of my review. If you have any questions or comments related to the episode or my review, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to reply to each and every comment. Until next time, stay tuned and stay safe. Peace.